Hello, how's it going, guys? So I got to run to an ecstatic dance in like, I don't know, 40 minutes. So I thought I'd quickly make a video on some stuff on my mind. Now, lately, I've been thinking about the concept of power, and I've been examining it from a slightly different lens. Now, in the past, I would have usually looked at works such as *The Prince* by Machiavelli, or taking the more original route of just looking at politics, because politics and power is where my mind usually goes. But this time I took a slightly different route, and I thought of exploring a few different options. So I looked at three different views, one of them being Nietzsche's, and that's a hard one to spell. The other one being Jung's, and then lastly, I took the view of physics because that's an approach that I don't find is taken often when actually thinking about power. So what's interesting is that when we look at Nietzsche, oh, I'm not good at using the whiteboard. Nietzsche, this is tough. I've never done this before, guys, as you can tell. I'm trying out some new format. I'm a filmmaker. I don't use whiteboards on the internet, but I want to explain something on my mind, so I have to. And I literally don't know how to use this. How do I move about? Some wretched. Oh, there you go. Okay. Yeah, so going back to Nietzsche. So when we look at Nietzsche, now Nietzsche was interesting because Nietzsche basically said that man should not strive for happiness. That's a no go. Don't look at that. But rather, they should strive for power, which is interesting because power, usually when we think of power, we would think of it in regards to controlling others because that's what power is thought of. Power is thought of the control you have over others. But Nietzsche actually thought of power in regards to growth, which is fucking fascinating. Because why is that fascinating? Because Nietzsche is saying that the fundamental goal of life is not happiness, but rather is growth. Meaning the real thing we're all here for is simply growth. Now, he actually has something called a circle of power, which kind of goes into this further. Essentially, the premise is that you're here on this planet for self overcoming through growth, overcoming the obstacles that manifest in your world, whatever they may be, because they're going to be different for you. I mean, you might be a software developer who finds a problem to be in their fucking code, or your wife might have a problem with you, or the woman you love secretly hates you and doesn't talk to you anymore, and you're making do with that. Um, so power, it's all about overcoming. It's all about growth. Then we look at Jung. Now Jung's interesting because Jung's view is more based on the subconscious realms. Basically, Jung comes down to say that real power is in fucking G's, bro. Whiteboards are not easy. How do I real real power comes from owning one's now you see if I can get there in time. Owning one's shadow. Oh, wretched. Kind of understanding the dark crevices of your own being and being able to not be a victim to that anymore. Having power over self is owning one's shadow, their subconscious realm. Being able to understand that, which it's a great way to look at power. I like it. Now let's go to the last one. If I remembered how to move this fucking thing, physics. Physics, indeedio. Now, why is physics the most interesting one for me? Because physics operates off a first principles basis, so there's actually value in thinking through the thought process of physics because it gives you an understanding based on the fundamental truths that exist, which I like because, I mean, you don't have to merely view this through mathematics or science. Just take that process into anything in life. View whatever you have through its fundamental core ingredients and see what is stopping you from getting to where you want to be. Point being, power in physics is defined very simply as work done over time elapsed. Okay? Another formula we could look at, which I'll expand on later, is force times velocity. This is also power. Okay? Now, you might be wondering, what? It's a measurement of power. What does this have to do with the other stuff you're talking about, Ten? Why are you bringing science into this stuff? I don't want to hear about this. This is weird stuff. Please go back to talking about the weirdly spiritual, ethereal bullshit that you're always talking about. I don't want to hear about physics. Well, you're going to. So if we take this view, and we understand power as being growth, yes, through Nietzsche's understandings, then you kind of start to wonder, hmm, hmm, hmm. For me to get more power in life, all I really have to do is I either A, do a substantial amount of work over an increasingly small amount of time, and this results in the gain of power. Or another view would be also when we look at work, yeah, work is energy. That's primarily the measurement we're looking at here because work done is energy. If you really want to break it down, work done equates to what is it? Force times displacement. Yeah, I want to say it's force times displacement because work done essentially comes down to object here is moved 5 meters with X amount of force applied to it. X amount could be 10 newtons. Let's call it basically gravity or whatever. Okay. The work done is that times it. So the end of here, we end up with the work done of 50 joules. Okay, cool. That's the work done. So then, yeah, that's energy. How do you increase in the same equation when we look at power? Fucking bullshit ass whiteboard system, motherfucking crapper. How do I move down? How do teachers, I very much have an appreciation for all online. Khan Academy has developed a fucking strong appreciation in the last 6 minutes. So yes, when we look at this, how do you increase your power? Now, yes, you can increase the work done, hence you can increase the amount of energy expenditure over a shorter period of time. Now, here's the interesting thing. Let's look at the day and age we're in, where I can do a piece of work, i.e. move an object. That's what work is, yeah? Let's take this object to further expand and just view it as an abstract noun, okay? Because that's what I'm viewing this as. The object that we're applying work onto is an abstract noun, so this could be, i.e. a movement, a agenda, something that I'm furthering that is beyond me, okay? So me pushing this agenda out there is me increasing my power. That's what we're trying to do, yeah? So in order to do that, I have a couple of methods. I could, one, have a substantial amount of work done over an increasingly short period of time, or I could increase the amount of work done, which is, again, the amount of energy exchange, transferred, as we say, through mass appeal. So let's just say my abstract now, my agenda, the X in this fucking object, this thing, I've made once. My film has been made once. This film now has the ability to go impact numerous other people from this one-time creation. This is why code and content are really the future for what's going on in the world, because it's making the ability to get work done over a shorter period of time in a different sense, because now work has been done, work is continuously being done as this piece of content remains stagnant, evokes more energetic responses in the world over really the time hasn't changed. I've made this once and I put it out there, so my power is increasing. Does this make sense? Like, I feel like a lot of what I'm saying must sound like mumbo jumbo, but if you really apply these concepts back into, you'd be like, okay, that makes kind of a lot of sense. So yeah, by hitting mass appeal through, let's just say I make a film that gets 1,000 views. Yes, those 1,000 people now, let's say half of them, 500 people, really evoke an emotion out of them. That emotion might be pain, it might be happiness, might be sadness, might be sorrow, might be fucking ecstatic, euphoria, whatever, you know? My ability to do that got me power. Which, again, might not make sense, but it's giving me, my organism, my being, more power. And as a byproduct of that, the opportunities you attract come in from a higher level too. Which is interesting, because if power is the end goal, and power is growth, then the more work you do over a shorter period of time, the more you grow. And view that in as many ways you want, because you could view this as doing the right amount of work, which is, again, doing work that it gives you the ability to open up more energetic exchange with more parties, hence gain you power, hence grow you. is easier in this sense. Or you can come from the force velocity perspective, which is interesting, because force times velocity, this actually goes into a whole other fucking phenomena of thought that I have going on. It's something that I call the node-based reality. Node, which I don't even know what I'm talking about in this video, but I feel like it might help explain some of the stuff I was going to go into with force and velocity. The node-based reality is a system that I use to understand existence through the precipice of universal consciousness, because I think that's where honestly a lot of Eastern religions go back to, and there's a lot of sense in it too. But the node-based system primarily uses my understanding of neural networks and AI as a model to further understand consciousness, which is funny because it's a computerized model, which is like pretty much based on consciousness, you could argue, but it's a good way to understand. It's a good way to understand things, you know? So that's great. So yeah, neural networks, okay, and the nodes that form them, similar to us. Nodes in the system. Motherfucker, I gotta practice this stuff before I go on my rants, but I just wanted to record something for Ecstatic Dance. You know, I'm a hippie like that apparently. Today I'm gonna go for Ecstatic Dance and dance around all jolly wally dance. The node-based reality. So when we view this as a system of nodes that form a larger network, yes, then you start to understand your own place within node-based reality and how you can increase your power and increase your capacity as a means of that. So the node-based reality, it essentially goes off this idea that there are several nodes. Fucking terrible drawing. That form our reality, yes. Now, these are individual beings and separate pieces of consciousness, conscious beings, okay, that are picking up on actually different ideas, different thoughts, different thematic realities based off their physically manifested node. Now, how does this come back into power and force times velocity? Well, because how do you define power through the force times velocity example? Like, think about what force is in this sense, and think about how you define velocity. Because velocity, as we know, yes, is speed in a given direction. It's think of it as intention. It's speed with an intention is the way I look at it. Because speed is erratic and the velocity is vectorized. So there's something there. So it's, let's just say, newtons times meters per second. Okay, there we go. Newton times meters per second. So then, breaking this down further, because again, velocity is simple. Velocity is simply speed in a given direction, which equals, again, displacement over time. Force, let's look at it as mass times acceleration, okay? This is where I'm going to bring it back into node-based reality for all those people that were kind of following and lost me when I got into that. I'm just going to make this bigger too, so hopefully this helps. So given the force times force equals mass times acceleration, another way to look at this node-based reality system is to understand your place to that within your given mass in this world. Now, there is this concept within psychology that states that people that are taller tend to gravitate towards positions of power within corporate life a lot easier. Now, you actually used to find this to be the case with larger individuals too. Now, this, again, like look at 90s, 80s corporate America. You got the Pepsi CEO, massive fucking guy, yeah, yielded a significant amount of power in his material existence in the node-based reality. So let's think about that. Let's just think about that for a sec, okay? So yeah, if it's mass times acceleration, okay, they're a fucking bitch. Fucking Christ. Mass times acceleration, yeah. Taller people tend to have a heavier mass. As I am honestly, as I'm getting heavier, I'm also yielding more power in an interesting sense too, is what you notice. Taller people tend to have a higher mass. As a byproduct of that, tend to gravitate towards more power. Now, let's look at the idea of acceleration. How do we increase acceleration? This is a concept of why I believe that in your 20s it's actually easier to accumulate success uh, through the realms of power if you're working on something of your own basis than later on in your life, because as you age, your speed is decreasing, your energy levels are decreasing. So working with the right intention at a young age can really develop you a lot of power. And again, power being yield, self-overcoming. So I don't know if that made a lot of sense. I think 15 minutes. I thought this would be significantly shorter. I fucked around with the pens for way too long. I hope that made sense. I hope you guys are all growing and overcoming. And let me know if this format is even fucking good. Thank you for watching. Go gain some power. I really hope this made sense.